The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
We've been hearing Rob Portman's name thrown around as a potential safe vice presidential pick for Mitt Romney. And even though Portman, the Ohio senator, said that he is probably going to, quote, end up staying in the Senate, a number of people looking at Wikipedia edits are saying Portman is going to be the guy. Now, what does that mean, Wikipedia edits? Here's the deal. Sarah Palin's Wikipedia page was updated at least 68 times the day before John McCain announced that she would be his vice presidential running mate. 54 changes were made to Sarah Palin's Wikipedia page in the 5 days prior to that. Compared to Sarah Palin, Mitt Romney, Kay Bailey Hutchison, some of the other potential McCain vice presidents saw very few changes in the days leading up to that announcement. Now, people have been measuring how many changes are being made to the different potential candidates' Wikipedia pages, and Rob Portman is way ahead, Lewis, way ahead.
But that's not a definitive yes?
No, well, he hasn't made the announcement yet, but it's an interesting indicator to look at. Now, what's even more interesting is what are the changes that are being made? In other words, what is being cleaned up, scrubbed, touched up about Portman's Wikipedia page? Well, I went in, and it's very easy with Wikipedia to look at a history of all the edits that have been made, Lewis, as you know. I went in, there's one user which made a number of, basically removed a bunch of stuff from the page flat out, okay? Now, usually the reason that this user gave was that the comments were either uncited, there was no citation for them, or they were not particularly relevant. Well, what are some of them? Let's look at them and see if we can see a trend. Now, remember, the criticism of Portman is that he's basically a Bush administration flunky. He's against any kind of government subsidy, that he is a deficit increaser as well, which is certainly something that, while is not, at least when you ask the Republicans, not associated with Republican administrations, if you actually look at the numbers, particularly George W. Bush, explosion in the deficit under George W. Bush, something that Republicans would want to distance Portman from for sure. You ready, Lewis?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number one, it was removed from Rob Portman's Wikipedia page that he spent $650,000 in his primary campaign, but only $81,000 in the general election. Okay. It was removed that Portman later served as director of the White House Office of Legislative Affairs until 1991, when he went back to Cincinnati. It was removed that Portman entered a special election to fill the seat of Congressman Willis Gradison Jr. of Ohio's 2nd Congressional District. It was also removed that Portman was a member of the Committee on Ways and Means and vice chair of the Committee on the Budget. It was also removed from Wikipedia that in a special election, Gene Schmidt, Mean Gene Schmidt, was elected to fill Portman's seat. And it was also removed that in 2006, President Bush nominated Portman to be the director of the Office of Management and Budget. What's the common thread here that you see between all of these removals on Wikipedia, Lewis?
That he is unreliable? I don't know.
Well, no, the common thread I see is that a lot of these things have to do with associations with past Republican administrations, particularly George W. Bush. That's what I see. And also, interestingly, that in the special election, it was completely bogus, nutty Congresswoman Gene Schmidt that was elected to fill Portman's seat. That's the trend I see there. Another user on Wikipedia removing a bunch of other stuff, including one interesting paragraph which talks about Portman voted for the Ryan budget, which seeks to reduce the public debt by 10% by 2050. The proposal includes plans to replace Medicare with a system of private insurance vouchers, reduce federal employee pensions and food and medical assistance for the poor, and broadly cut federal spending, except where, Lewis? The defense budget, of course. That was removed because it was supposedly not notable and it doesn't stand out. Well, that's pretty notable to me. It, again, is more of a tie of Portman to George W. Bush-style policy. So we're seeing a trend here in what's being removed from the Rob Portman Wikipedia page. We're also seeing just a wealth of edits being made, maybe a suggestion that Portman is going to be the Romney vice presidential pick.
Could be. Is that a good thing for Romney? I mean, how does this really pull in the people that he needs to win over?
I think it's a safe choice. In other words, it's the idea that it's not a choice that's going to be compelling to a lot of people. It's not a choice that's going to be a turnoff to a lot of people. Maybe it'll help in Ohio because that is Portman's state. I think it's just seen as kind of a safe milquetoast choice to counter picking somebody like Sarah Palin.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that respect, it's a good choice, but isn't Obama ahead?
Right. Well, that's the thing. Is if you believe that Romney is behind, is it going to help him pull ahead? I would say probably not. But maybe the idea is to make the VP pick a non-factor.
Right.
Okay.